Hello, I have some exciting news. I have just launched a Steam page for my latest game, Labyrinth Trailblazer. Labyrinth Trailblazer is a turn-based dungeon crawler roguelike where you explore a dungeon to fight enemies, encounters events, and defeat bosses to reach the top of the labyrinth. There are many games that inspired this game. If you can't tell already, this game is heavily inspired by the Etrian Odyssey series. I like Etrian Odyssey, but it had a few issues. For example, trying out new build costs you a lot of time because of the level down mechanic every time you want to reset your skill points. There's also too many menu navigation. Another game that inspired this was roguelikes such as Slay the Spire. Why not try and turn Etrian Odyssey into a roguelike? This would solve a lot of the issues about trying new builds, as you need to reset your run anyways if you want to try a new build. So this game takes a lot of inspiration from Slay the Spire and other roguelikes, specifically a lot of the enemy designs, as Slay the Spire has a lot of good enemy designs. Some other points is I kept a lot of the effects very simple, similar to Slay the Spire, which had very simple card design but a lot of synergy. Some other games where I took inspiration on for the UI design is Honkai Star Rail, where you could see the turn order, be able to see enemy info when you click them, or even see your character's stats and abilities. I've also implemented a prediction system to see the outcome of your actions. Some other games also use this, and I've taken inspiration from those. The gameplay of the game is similar to traditional dungeon crawlers, where you move in a grid-based movement. There are no random encounters in this game, and instead, enemies are spawned at random locations. I chose this method so that you can't endlessly fight enemies forever, and encounters are more predictable. The screen will flash red when you're near an enemy, which makes it easier to find where an enemy is, so you can easily make decisions if you want to fight or back away for now. Events for now are automatically triggered. When you move near an event tile, the event will be triggered. Similar to Slay the Spire, these events will give you options, so choose wisely. Shops also exist in the dungeon. You can revisit them any number of times to purchase items you couldn't buy before. The campfire, like in many roguelikes, is a primary way of healing and gaining new allies. There are 2 campfires on the maps. The campfires are always located closest to the boss and the furthest away from the boss. This makes it easier for players to ration out their campfire usage so that it won't waste them too early on each floor. This also lowers the chance of players encountering 2 campfires back to back. Bosses always block the exits to the next floor, so you always need to fight them to proceed to the next level. The combat is turn-based. Similar to other turn-based games, each characters will take turns depending on their speed and position they're in, but each character will have exactly 1 action per turn. This is to prevent players or enemies having multiple turns at once before the opposing side get a chance to act. This never felt fair in games like Honkai Star Rail, where enemies would take multiple actions before you did, but on the other hand, it always feels great when you do. Also, unlike Etrian Odyssey, you don't choose all your party's actions at first. When I played Etrian Odyssey, this felt very time consuming to do, especially in shorter fights with a large party. When you take a turn, you choose between basic actions such as attacking, defending, skills your character has, and items your party possesses. All options are laid out on one screen so that players don't need to navigate through menus. This might be an issue when players gain more skills, but this problem could be fixed either by limiting the amount of skills a player has or by using a skill menu. Skills also have cooldowns before you could use them again, and some skills has an associated cost. Originally, skills didn't have cooldowns, but without it, it felt like players would often use the same skills over and over again, leading to boring play patterns. When choosing an action, you can see the outcome of your action. This makes calculation for the player easier and reduces the need of reading the effects of your skill each time. Enemies also have their own action. They either attack or perform their own skills. These actions are picked beforehand so that you can see their intent and see what they're about to do. This system is similar to Slice and Dice's intent system. Apart from attacking and dealing damage, all units can inflict statuses as well. These can either be buffs or debuffs. To make status easier to understand, I limited each status to only have 1 type of variable. Let's call this variable X. Similar to Magic the Gathering's keywords for certain mechanics, statuses are similar to such keywords. For example, the status attack up X increases damage by 1 for X turn. X can be in place for any numeric value. Alternatively, if I wanted this to increase the damage, I would have strength up status, which would be deal X damage for 1 turn. It would be possible to use X twice in effect. For example, take poison. Poison is lose X HP for X turns. This effect works exactly the same as it does in Slay the Spire. Using this principle as a base, I can create a variety of simple yet powerful buffs and debuffs. There are currently 10 playable characters, with the goal of having each character be distinct from each other, while having synergy with one another. The first character you play as is a fighter. It's designed to be a basic damage dealer, simple to use, deals high damage. There are 2 build paths that I had in mind for the fighter. It's either using high damaging skills, or having skills that cost HP, so losing life. The second character you could play as is the Archer, which is a support character for damage builds, being able to inflict basic stat debuffs to enemies. As for the secondary build, the Archer can apply a buff called Spirit Arrows, increasing the damage dealt and reducing incoming damage, but with limited usage. This is basically a hybrid attack buff and a defense buff with limited usage. The Mage inflicts burn debuffs and uses a lot of TP, thus has a higher base TP stat. Burn is delayed damage, which deals damage at the end of the enemy's turn. The Defender is your typical tank character with high HP, low speed, and TP. They provide shield to the party, and unlike most games, shield in this game does not go away at the start of your turn, but as a result, it also cannot block status damage like poison. The Healer is another basic unit that of course heals your party. They also have a variety of support skills so that they are not just a boring healer. Currently, each area has a total of 7 common enemies, 3 elite enemies, and 3 bosses. For each level, you would encounter 1 elite and 1 boss in each area. Common enemies are designed to be simple. Each enemy has 1 or 2 gimmick. The Slime is designed to be very weak. Apart from dealing a simple 1 damage per attack, it can also inflict an attack down debuff. I chose this debuff as it has the least effect on increasing incoming damage to the player, but it still has a meaningful impact on the player's action. The Bat gains a counter, which allows it to counter-attack enemy attacks when it's being hit. I designed it this way so players would have to think if it's worth taking damage to try and attack the Bat. The Goblin is a low HP monster, but it steals stats with its abilities. It is quite fast, so oftentimes it will act before you can even take a turn. Being able to steal stats makes your characters weaker and harder to kill the Goblin. The Minotaur is a later enemy designed to counter multi-hit attacks. In order to counter multi-hit attacks, it increases its next damage when it gets hit, making it stronger if you carelessly hit it. Elite enemies. The Rookie Hunter is a seemingly slow tiger, but it can randomly speed up, which can catch some players off guard. Increasing its speed means it can perform its next action faster, which makes it seem like it's taking 2 turns in a row. The Ogre is a counter to mage-type units. More specifically, it could deal more damage based on your missing TP. Kind of like the Knob in Slay the Spire, where the more skills you play, the stronger the Knob gets. The Griffin Elite counters buffs on your unit. For each buff your character has, it deals more damage, while the Warrior on the other hand counters debuffs, gaining strength in return for each debuff dispelled. The Stone Angel has skills that punish players for attacking it or applying debuffs to it. It usually rotates between these statuses. Players would need to be more careful when attacking the Stone Angel. Bosses. Dragon is a very basic boss. It deals high damage and applies some debuffs. There's only one target, so it's a very simple fight. The Goblin King summons 3 allies that each deal debuffs. The gimmick of this fight is the more debuffs your character has, the more damage they will take from some attacks. The Cave Worm starts asleep, and after a few turns it wakes up or after being hit a few times. There are 6 of them in this fight, and when they wake up, they shoot laser beams that hit a column. You need to plan your actions carefully or you'll be overwhelmed by the worms. The Sentry is a robot that comes in multiple parts. The arm deals small damage and supports its allies with shields and heals. The head performs counterattacks, and the body charges up for massive damage unless you try and hit it a few times. The Steam page is currently up, so head over there to wishlist the game. Beta testing will be out soon, and early access will be available once I finish up a few more features such as quick saving and a few more polish added to the game.